So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzahelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Hamashiach laid waste for many centuries. As we read it in Yeshayahu the prophet, it's always important understanding Yeshayahu as the great prophet of the period where then the nation was going through some very radical changes in its political system, and also the people that were greatly troubled because of the decisions made by the king. And Yeshayahu then obviously was a beacon of hope regarding what is coming then in the future, and the future Hamashiach, and the understandings of the autumn feast. Now then, as far as what the world is going through, the period of transition from the 1,000 years of deceit, or then the 1,000 years of the New World Order, and then since the world is transitioning back of what it was during the time of the 1,000 years of the Hamashiach ben Yosef, it's very important lining up the prophet Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Ezekiel, Daniel, Obadiah, Zechariah. Each of these prophets, they were obviously linked up with the divine. So was then the Hamashiach ben Yosef. There was absolutely no distinction from the coming of the promised prophet. Now, there are some pending situations regarding Yeshua, because the third temple, it's a very hot topic, because a couple of very important religions are involved with the third temple. Primarily, the Hebrew people are obviously engaged in understanding the laws of Moses, and as the third temple then is completed, the holy instructions concerning the sacrificial system then is returned. Now then, on the other side, Christianity is engaged in a very peculiar understanding of the salvation of the Hebrews via the Savior generated in the New Testament. So on one side there is the group of Hebrews expecting salvation coming from the laws of Moses, and then the eyes of the Gentiles opened for the Torah. Now the Christians, on the other hand, are expecting the same thing, but then based from the New Testament. And then the Islam, or then the Muslims, are obviously in control of the Mount Moriah. So then these situations, when we combine of what's going on, then tabernacling is obviously shown. Now, regarding trade, now comes a situation that's very important. Yahweh and his function of wisdom, and also his function of judge. Now, understandably, Great Britain is involved with the exit of the European Union. The United States used to be the leader of the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now then, since the world's leadership regarding trade in the West mostly is dismantled because of the exit of the United States, now comes the situation of US and Great Britain, Canada, and the countries of Latin America and also Central America. Now they are searching for ways of increasing their trade. Now the United States and Great Britain, they were always unified. Mostly during these modern times, they're always linked. Now with the exit of Great Britain from the European Union, now then the Prime Minister of Great Britain is visiting with the Chinese leader at the end of this year. So then the information in the British newspaper is very explicit. They're going to talk mostly exclusively regarding trade. So then the treaty that our president made with these direct nations, there is a shift of these understandings at the end of this year. So then these leaders of the West, they are coming together and trying to make an understanding of their own trade, but the path is set. In the plan of this country at this point in time, it's a very precarious situation, save if the United States money is used in many countries where then US has yet control. Now the problem is the optional usage of decentralized virtual monetary systems. Though they have somewhat a plan, though they include those countries that previously were together in a plan, now they must face that China and its money, the yen, is used as a means of international exchange as the USD or pound are simply used. Now, the divine has selected these events. It was not a person explaining, or then a prophet explaining, or somebody else coming up with another plan. These were clearly stated. Now then, this country and many other countries of the English-speaking people, during past times, when it didn't exist, the virtual monetary systems, then they were united in a certain way. Now they are trying to regather these people that they reorganized in the past, but there is a problem. The internet virtual financial system has changed. And if a country does not have proper equipment, proper servers linked up with the freighters, so they can understand and charge proper taxes, then the plans are going to be futile. Mostly because the nations are having a tendency of linking up with the kingdom of the East. This was a divine plan. Now then, what are the implications for our economy? Great Britain was always a friend of the United States. Now, why then they are pretending at this point in time, becoming part of this restructuring of the West, if they already have in their agenda what they wish for in the future? So then, US is always a realistic military country, should be treated with honesty. If some countries they don't want to be part of it, if they already know that the future is being held in another situation other than spoken previously, these countries should come forward at the very moment these events take place and be honest. So then our country can prepare itself for truly what's coming, because we are depending upon certain types of structurings that depends upon other countries, and they already have another agenda in a very near future. So then the plans of this country is already troublesome. Now we must have a total honesty from the nations that our nation is dealing with. Or if they want to make changes of their own, at least advise. So our country doesn't get caught in the midst of a situation being promised of receiving certain things, and when the time comes and then doesn't take place. Our country was never afraid of being alone in the world. In fact, the most lonely times this nation always experienced ended up coming out the victor. So then, there are principles that our leaders must be concerned that what they treating at the moment, what they are saying, what they are making deals, it's not truly what's coming in the future, because these nations we are dealing with, they already have a second agenda, and they do not want to share this second agenda with us. So this should cause a bit of caution on how our nation is going to involve its resources and its time, and understandably the new system. But next time we're going to evaluate this more in the enlightenment of the instructions and also Galah. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.